Hello and welcome to my first YouTube video. My name is Rick. I'm about 30 miles east of Columbus. I'm making this video in October of 2018. Quick background. I'm using a couple Logitech C615 cameras. I'm using a Blue Yeti. I'm amazed that it isn't sticking up into the picture, but that's what I'm using to create this video. Nothing fancy, but I'm trying to give back to the YouTube community because there's many things that, I've had trouble with, needed fixing. I couldn't even begin to list them all. First place I go is YouTube to see if anybody else has tried to do the same thing, fix the same item or whatever. What I'm going to address today is a problem with a number of Fender amps. It involves the fact that your volume control on like I said, a variety of different Fender amps, if you're at 0, going from 0 to about 2, you achieve 90% of your total volume gain. So in other words, you crank it the rest of the way up, it hardly can even be seen that you've done anything. All your volume is between 0 and 2. There's a number of videos on there of different ways to fix it. Even as far as taking the chassis out, changing the potentiometers on the circuit board, which I don't recommend. Drilling some holes in the chassis and putting jacks and pots in. And the bottom line of it is, at the end, they do not work, or the situation did not fix the problem. So I'm going to give an easy fix. What it's going to involve is basically taking a project box such as this. This is a box from Radio Shack, a 1-inch by 2-inch by 4 inches long box. It was $6. It's going to take a potentiometer, which is a 100K audio taper potentiometer, and a couple mono jacks that I've mounted in the side. I got this from Radio Shack just recently. The box was $6. The 2 jacks were in 1 pack, a 2-pack of jacks for $1.25. The potentiometer was $2, so the total cost to make this was $9.25. Okay, so what does this work on and what does it affect? The amp that I have that I'm using this to modify is a Princeton 112 Plus. I know that the Princeton 65 also suffers from the same problem. I know that the Hot Rod DeVille's by Fender suffer this problem. I think some of the Blues Junior amps may also have it. I can't say for sure. So this fix with this box means no modification whatsoever to your amp. You don't open it up, you don't solder to it, you don't do anything. You run, 2 jumpers, 1/4-inch jumpers like you'd use on a pedal board to that little box that I made. Okay. Now I'm going to switch my video feed. Now I'm over and we're looking at a diagram of what was in that little box. Okay, you've got a 100K audio taper pot, again, that was $2 from Radio Shack. With the pot facing away from you, you have 3 solder lugs here. Okay, you have 2 mono jacks that basically just have 2 solder lugs. One's for the positive, which is also the place where your plug plugs in and hits the positive side. The jack also has a ground, and it's also grounded through the nut and stuff that goes through your box. So, one thing that I'll note, I went ahead and put two wires here on the left hand side and use that for the ground. And I run a wire to the ground on the upper jack, which is the output. I run a ground here on the bottom jack. Now, if you do not use a plastic, or these are not mounted in a plastic box, but yet a metal box, you would only have to run one wire off of this ground to either one of these jacks, because then they'd be grounded through the chassis. But I ran the two wires to ground them. Your center, I'm sorry that my hand's shaking, got my arm straight out and I'm trying to do this. The center, you're running a wire to the positive of your output jack, the upper jack. The outside or the right hand, you're running to the positive solder lug of the input jack or the lower jack. So I'm leaving that up there and get my hand out of the way. So if you wanted to make your own diagram, you could just pause the video and draw your own diagram. But that's the way that the box was set up on the inside. I'm going to go to the setup here. So I'm going to pause this video, and I hope I can take right back off, but I want to get a shot of the amplifier. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to give a live demonstration to try to show you how this volume control that I made affects the amplifier. I'm going to pause this again. I will have the box that I made disconnected and just the amplifier, using the amplifier volume on its own. So bear with me again. Thank you. Okay, the next thing that you will hear will be the amplifier with an instrument directly in it, with the volume set to about 1. Okay, there is 2. Here is 2. Very loud. There's 3. Okay, that was demonstrating the amp by itself. Now I have the box, the adjustment box that was made. My amp volume is at 5. The volume on the box is about 1.5. Now I'm raising the volume. This is about 3. You have a lot more control. This is about halfway. Okay, I'm sure that wasn't a very good demonstration, but it's just the fact that, like I said, between 0 and 2, that amp is almost at full volume. However, with the bypass volume control, you have a wide range, what you would, the normal person would consider normal, a fluid increase in volume as you turn it from 0 to 10. So that's it. I hope that video and you can see how to make this box, and that will take care of that volume without making any modifications to the chassis on those affected amplifiers. I want to mention, if I go back to the let me transition back over to the amp of the Princeton amp. This could be a number of Fender amps. It may be even could be a PV amp, but I haven't heard any complaints of the PV volume controls not being linear. It's always been the Princeton amps. But these power, the preamp and the power amp on other models may be in the back of the chassis or whatever. But if you have these, if you have the preamp and the power amp in jacks, then you should be able to do that. Thanks very much.